What if I told you that one simple drink helped build the most powerful empire in the ancient world? And what if Rome's success wasn't powered by gold or weapons alone, but by wine? Welcome to Wine History Explained. Today, we're uncovering the surprising story of how wine became one of the foundations of the Roman Empire. When most people think about ancient Rome, they imagine mighty armies, grand temples, and powerful emperors. But few realize that wine was woven into almost every part of Roman life. It wasn't just a luxury for the rich. It was a daily necessity for millions of people. The Romans loved wine. In fact, they drank it more often than plain water. Many water sources were polluted and unsafe, especially in crowded cities. Wine was often mixed with water, making it safer and more pleasant to drink. From wealthy senators to ordinary workers, wine was consumed by nearly everyone. As Rome expanded across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, it carried its wine culture everywhere it went. Roman soldiers didn't just conquer territories, they introduced vineyards, farming techniques, and wine production to newly conquered lands. Wherever the Roman Empire grew, vineyards soon followed. By the 1st century AD, enormous vineyards stretched across Italy, Spain, France, and other Roman provinces. Wine became one of the empire's most important agricultural products. Thousands of workers planted grapes, harvested fruit, and produced wine on a massive scale. This wasn't a small business. It was an economic powerhouse. Wine created jobs for farmers, merchants, shipbuilders, potters, and traders. Large clay containers called amphorae were produced specifically for transporting wine. Entire industries developed around the growing demand. The Roman economy benefited at every stage from vineyard to marketplace. But producing wine was only half the story. The real challenge was moving it across the empire. Rome built one of the greatest road systems in history. More than 250,000 miles of roads connected cities, military bases, and trade centers. These roads allowed wine to travel efficiently across vast distances. Merchant caravans loaded with wine moved through Roman highways every day. Ships carried wine across the Mediterranean Sea. Major ports handled thousands of amphorae arriving from distant provinces. Wine became one of the most traded products in the Roman world. The demand was enormous. In Roman cities, taverns and wine shops appeared on nearly every street. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of hundreds of wine bars in ancient towns. Even ordinary citizens could afford basic wine. For many families, wine was part of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The Roman army also depended heavily on wine. Soldiers often received wine as part of their rations. Long military campaigns required stable supplies of food and drink, and wine was considered essential. It boosted morale, provided calories, and was safer than questionable water sources found during campaigns. As Roman legions marched across Europe, they introduced local populations to Roman wine culture. Some of today's most famous wine regions owe part of their history to Roman expansion. Areas of modern France, Spain, and Germany developed vineyards because of Roman influence. Wine wasn't only about business and survival. It was deeply connected to Roman culture and religion. During celebrations, weddings, festivals, and religious ceremonies, wine played a central role. Wealthy Romans hosted extravagant banquets where guests consumed fine wines imported from across the empire. Owning rare wines became a symbol of status and success. Some Roman elites became obsessed with collecting expensive wines from specific regions. Certain vintages were highly prized and sold for enormous prices. In many ways, the luxury wine market of today has roots in ancient Rome, but Rome's growing wine industry eventually created problems. As vineyards expanded, some farmers stopped growing food crops and focused entirely on wine production because it was more profitable. In certain regions, officials worried that too much land was being devoted to vineyards instead of essential food supplies. Emperors occasionally attempted to regulate wine production, but demand remained incredibly strong. The Roman population simply couldn't get enough. Even after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the impact of Roman wine culture continued. The vineyards they planted remained. The farming techniques they developed survived. Trade routes they established influenced commerce for centuries. Many of Europe's most famous wine-producing regions can trace part of their success back to Roman times. The knowledge spread by Roman farmers and merchants shaped the future of winemaking long after the empire disappeared. So, did wine literally build Rome? Not by itself. But wine helped fuel the economy, support trade, connect distant provinces, sustain armies, and strengthen Roman culture. It became one of the invisible forces helping hold a vast empire together. For the Romans, wine wasn't just a drink. It was business. It was culture. It was politics. It was daily life. And without it, the story of Rome might have looked very different. Thank you for watching Wine History Explained. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more fascinating stories from the history of wine.